You finally found someone who's actually good to you. They're consistent, they're kind, they don't play games, they show up, and instead of feeling safe, instead of feeling relieved, you feel terrified. You feel the urge to run. You find yourself waiting for them to show their real face. You create distance and then feel guilty for creating it, and then you create more. And you can't explain it because they haven't done anything wrong. The problem is not them, and somewhere in you, you know that, which almost makes it worse. This is one of the most painful and confusing patterns that comes out of growing up in a toxic or narcissistic family. And today we're going to talk about exactly what is happening and what to do about it. In this video, we're going to cover why safety feels unfamiliar and sometimes even threatening, what happens in your body when someone gets too close, and how growing up in a toxic family rewired your understanding of love and safety, and what you can actually do to let safe people in without your nervous system shutting down. Let's talk about why safety feels threatening. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between unfamiliar and dangerous. It only knows what is familiar and what is not. And if what was familiar growing up was chaos, inconsistency, conditional love, walking on eggshells, never knowing which version of your parent you are going to get, then that is what your nervous system learned to call normal. And calm feels suspicious. Consistency feels boring, and kindness without a catch kind of feels like a setup. Love without conditions feels like something you haven't earned yet, and therefore you feel like you can't trust it. And this isn't a character flaw. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do, and that's scan for the threat, prepare for the loss, protect you from being caught off guard the way you were caught off guard so many times before. The problem is that your nervous system is using old data. It is applying the same rules that kept you safe in your childhood home to a completely different environment. That it is still looking for the narcissistic parent in every person who gets close to you. And sometimes when it can't find one, it decides that the safety itself must be the threat. So here's what this looks like in real life. It looks like someone treating you consistently and you feel unsettled by it instead of feeling comforted. It looks like receiving a genuine compliment and immediately dismissing it or waiting for criticism that must be coming after. It looks like someone saying I love you and feeling your body tense instead of relax. It looks like creating conflict when there was none, just to see how they handle it. Just to get to the part where it falls apart, because at least then the waiting is over. It looks like keeping people at arm's length even when you desperately want to let them in. It looks like ending things or pushing people away until they end things, right when the relationship was getting real. And it looks like this specific thing that so many people grew up in toxic families experience. Being comfortable with someone who is emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or difficult than with someone who is genuinely there for you. Because difficult is familiar, and familiar is what your nervous system calls safe. Here's what I want you to understand. The problem isn't that you're incapable of intimacy. The problem is that you were taught what love looks like in an environment that wasn't loving. And now you're trying to recognize something that you were never properly shown. But there is a way through this, and it starts with understanding what's actually happening in your body. Now you might be wondering, what role does your body play? Like, what does your body have to do with all of this? Intimacy, real intimacy, the kind where someone actually sees you, requires vulnerability. And vulnerability requires your nervous system to be in a state where it feels safe enough to open up. And for most people who grew up in toxic families, the nervous system never fully learned how to get to that state, because vulnerability in your childhood home was dangerous. Showing your feelings, your real feelings, got them used against you. Being seen meant being known, and being known meant being managed. So your body learned to stay closed, to stay guarded, to stay in a low grade state of readiness, even when there was nothing to be ready for. And when someone gets close, when someone actually starts to see you, your nervous system interprets that exposure as a threat. Not because the person is threatening, but because exposure has always preceded pain. I want to pause and mention something here. If you are someone who finds yourself flooded after emotionally charged interactions, even good ones, even the ones with people who are safe, the People Pleaser's Emotional Reset Guide walks you through how to come back to a regulated state, because a lot of what makes intimacy hard is that we cannot stay regulated for long enough to stay present. And it's completely free and it's linked in the description. Also, if you freeze in moments of vulnerability, like you go blank when you want to speak, if you can't find the words when it actually matters, the Freeze Response Recovery Kit was made for that. The link is also in the description. So how do we actually let safe people in? First, we learn how to recognize the difference between unfamiliar and dangerous. When you feel that urge to run for the hills, when you feel the distance creeping in, ask yourself, is this person actually doing something harmful? Or does this just feel different from what I grew up with? Different is allowed to be good. You're allowed to let it be good. Second, go slowly. And tell safe people that you're going slowly. Let them know. You don't have to white knuckle your way into intimacy. You're allowed to move at the pace that your nervous system needs. And if you are with someone who is genuinely safe, they will understand. You don't have to explain your entire history on the first date, but you are allowed to say, I take time to trust people, not because of anything you've done, but because of what I've been through. A safe person will hear that and they will respect it. Third, practice tolerating the discomfort of being seen. Start small. Let someone do something kind for you without deflecting. Receive a compliment without immediately dismissing it. Allow someone to show up for you without immediately looking for the catch. You're practicing a new kind of normal, and like all new things, it will feel uncomfortable before it feels natural. Fourth, work on nervous system regulation outside of the relationship. So here's what I mean. The work of learning to feel safe does not only happen in the relationship. It happens in your body, in your daily life, in your therapy, in the moments when you catch yourself bracing for impact when nothing is coming. And you practice letting the bracing go. The more regulated your nervous system is in general, the more capacity you will have to stay present in the moments of intimacy. You are not incapable of love or closeness or intimacy. You are someone who learned to protect yourself in an environment that required protection. And now you're in the very hard and very brave work of learning that not every environment requires the same kind of protection. That takes time. It takes patience with yourself. And it takes the safe people who are willing to stay while you figure it out. You deserve to have those people, and you deserve to let them in. If this video helped you to understand why you do something that you've never been able to explain, share it with someone who might recognize themselves in it too. Sometimes just having a name for the thing is the beginning of changing it. Subscribe for weekly videos on healing from toxic family patterns. Comment below, does intimacy feel unsafe to you, and when did you first notice it? I read every single comment, and I'll see you next week. Take care.